Glad that you can join us. We have a great show for you today. This is episode 2 of The Ripple Effect. Uh, I have so much to say here, but I want to jump straight into it. As everyone knows, because of course you tuned in to last month's show. If you didn't, you can check it out on almost every platform, YouTube and Facebook. Please do. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. But today, on today's episode, I am honored to be joined by two leaders in prevention work here in Kitsap County. Laura Hyde, Prevention and Coalition Program Supervisor, and Deanne Jackson, Prevention and Coalition Coordinator. We are also joined by our special guest today, Charlene Edmond from the YWCA, who brings critical insight into advocacy and survivor support. Today, we are having an important conversation about how teen dating violence connects to the larger risks like human trafficking and opiate use and much more. These issues are not isolated. Abusive relationships often involve patterns of power, control, and manipulation that can make young people more vulnerable to exploitation. In some situations, traffickers exploit dating relationships or use substances to create dependency and silence victims. Opiate use can increase isolation and make it harder for teens to recognize abuse or find a way out. Now, what you may see for those of you that watch many podcasts is they use substitute words because you're trying to get monetized on YouTube or Facebook. And so they will substitute words. We're not going to do that today. We're not worried about monetization, but what we don't want to do is take the sting and the seriousness out of the words. So if you're not familiar, for folks to be monetized, they can't say the word rape. They use the word grape instead. They will use things like struggle snuggle instead of rape. And so they'll use these different words in order to mask and not have the algorithm pick it up and then demonetize the video. But again, it does a disservice to our victims. It does a disservice to how heinous and how serious these actions are. And so we are not going to shy away from that. And that is the same thing with suicide. They will not use those words. So I do want to just give that caveat up front. And with that, with no further ado, I'm going to go ahead and pass it on to Deanne. Deanne, how are you doing today?
I am doing fantastic. Thank you. How are you?
You know what? As always, I say that I am blessed and highly favored. And for that, I truly believe that. Absolutely. And so I'm going to go ahead and just take myself off the camera here. You will see me or you will hear me. You just will not see me because our guests are really who shine here today. So without further ado, Dan, let me go ahead and pass it to you and you can take it from there. And I will field the questions once you introduce our guest.
Okay. You let me know when.
Oh, go ahead. You're good to go.
Okay. Well, as you said, I'm Deanne Jackson, and I coordinate two coalitions here in Kitsap County, Washington, that focus on substance abuse prevention. We do look primarily for youth, but we don't kid ourselves because youth see adults in the community, they go home to adults. So all of us, we have a role to play in learning about, conveying, educating, and supporting prevention everywhere. And I do have the privilege of working under an amazing supervisor, Laura Hyde, and she's here with me today too. And we work really hard to try to get this message out in all the different arenas. And this is just one. Many people don't understand, and they don't understand how it correlates with substance misuse. So we look forward to starting this and getting some feedback and answering some big, ugly questions with Miss Charlene. And we appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Laura, do you want to introduce and share? And then
Sure. Laura Hyde. I work for Kitsap County Department of Human Services. My whole life, I've been working with children and youth. I've been an advocate, an educator, a case manager, a teacher, worked in after-school centers, summer playgrounds, and many programs. Through all of that, I got really frustrated with all those barriers that you hit and went, oh boy, if I could do something to move those roadblocks, that would be great. And so I started working after school center, up the ladder, to try to eliminate as many problems and develop as many resources as we can. And so that brought me to the county. And I'm so lucky to be able to work in such an environment where there's so many great people dedicated to helping. So that's me. And most importantly, the most important thing in my life really is that I'm a mom. And I adore my daughter. She's grown now, but it has been a wonderful experience raising her.
All right. Well, with no further ado, let us introduce today's guest, Charlene Edmond. Let me go ahead and give her applause. All right. Welcome to the show, Charlene. So glad that you can join us today. Can you tell us a little bit about your background so we understand where you're coming from a subject matter expert?
Yeah, sure. My name is Charlene Edmond. I originally from North Carolina. I moved here in 1986 into Bremerton. And so I am almost a 25-year worker for the YWCA of Kitsap County. And what else I do? I am a support group facilitator for women. My husband and I have covered ministry a lot of years by having youth to live in our home, and also we have worked with youth through different kind of challenges and changes and this type stuff. So we have had our celebration with a lot of the youth that's still in our lives as my husband passed away, but also they are still in our lives because we took that time to educate them, to talk to them, to have them in our home, to cook them meals, whatever they needed. I also have worked with seniors. I also have worked with domestic violence for lots of years. So in the community, both in Carolina and here, I would say I'm 36 years into it. And like 20, I said close to 25 here for the YWCA of Kitsap County. And it is a challenge that we meet 5 days a week, having women to come in for protection orders, having women to come in that's really sad and need a support group to help them to understand domestic violence as to what is happening to them. How did I get here? What can I do about this? And I am so proud to say that during my years at the YWCA, I have been in contact with thousands of women through my group. And I'm so excited about that. I'm excited about coming to work and not knowing all the answers, but working through the process to help them get there.
All right. Well, thank you for that introduction. And you have a bunch of fans. So Julianne Cooper says, Charlene is my hero with the big heart. And Joel Shepard says, yay, Mama Charlene, love you. So you got some big fans out there. So you definitely have made an impact in the community. All right, let's go ahead and jump right in. Our first question for the three of you. When people hear teen dating violence, they often picture physical abuse. But what does it really look like today, especially in teens, digital and social lives?
Yes, what does it look like? You know, it's really so sad to say, but when we was coming up as kids, there was always a village of people. And it was just people that basically was in your neighborhood, your neighbor, your teacher, the person that you knew that worked at the hospital. But it was somebody that you could always reach out to for help. So what has happened these days is that the village is gone away because a lot of the children today, they are so much on social media, it's so different, you got to be so cautious at the friends that you choose. You got to be so cautious at the places that you go. you know, and then what happens is a lot of time that it brings about a lot of secrets that other friends have with them, but none of the information about the seriousness of it is passed on to the parent. So if I could encourage parents today, it's a total different era that we're living in now. And I know a lot of times parents are tired, they get older. You know, how do I deal with teenagehood? Talking. You have to never be scared to do talking.
Yep.
Ask them questions. Set aside a time and say, well, Johnny, right now I know that I think there's a little thing, something going on. So what we're going to do is, can you give me an hour from now to come and sit with me? Because one thing as parents, we feel like a lot of times that a lot of the old values that we have has been taken away. You don't talk to Johnny or Johnny gonna call the police. You don't do this, you don't do that, you can't do this, you can't do this. But there's nothing like having open communication with your children. And we as parents can always come in the blaming mode. If you wouldn't have did this, then I wouldn't have did that. Let's just come and listen. Let the children use their voices. Let them describe that it's not like it used to be when you were in high school. I'm facing people that has drugs in their pockets every day. Dad, I'm looking at stuff that you don't even know about it. Or when we go on camera, when we're looking at the internet, when we're doing this, take the time to go back and have decent conversation with your children.
I wrote a couple things down just as a cheat because I want to learn, I want to grow. And some of the stuff that I came up with is when you hear people say teen dating violence, they often picture bruises or physical fights. But today, it just shows up likely through a screen on a phone. Teen dating violence includes emotional manipulation, constant monitoring, digital harassment, pressure for passwords, controlling who someone can follow or talk to, using social media to humiliate or isolate a partner. In teens' digital lives, it can look like demanding instant replies, tracking someone's location, threatening to share private photos, or creating fake accounts to spy on them. Because so much of teen relationships do play out online through Snapchat, Instagram, group chats, and more and more and more every day. The abuse can feel constant. There's no break when you go home as it follows you 24/7. I can't imagine being a parent now, knowing that. I mean, I know that Marwan, you're parenting now, but wow, crazy.
And for me, I think the key to raising my daughter so healthy and focused and successfully really has been that communication. Even now, she's 30, and she and I talk every day. And we talk about some of the most inane things, but some of the most important, heartfelt things. And that's a bond that we have always had. We just communicate on everything. And I'm really good at asking open-ended questions.
Yes.
And trying to move beyond that yes, no kind of thing. And then catching them in a moment where they're not focused on the communication, like in the car, on the way to soccer when she was young. That was a great place to talk over homework. And yes, she did have friends that needed to talk and were in teen violent situations. And I wound up doing that with her friends as well. She would bring some of her friends over because they knew that I could talk with them, and I'd always say, well, if there's something dangerous or you're in danger, then just know that I'm going to have to do something to help you. But other than that, I really want to talk and help and guide. So talking.
No, I'll just add before we go to our next question. For me, I really look at it as I'm the parent, I'm not the friend. And so, in that, you really need to understand these apps. And, while a lot of people are iPhone lovers, I do like the ability to track what apps that she's able to download. She has to ask for permission. That allows me to look into the apps and see what level of app it is. Sneaky apps like Snapchat are not allowed because those messages and images come through and then they're deleted. So bullying could be happening and there's no evidence of it because it's gone. And so for that, I just really like to keep control of the social media.
And there's some great apps out there for folks that are Android users or what have you. One that has come up from one of our partners with Freedom 13, they recommend Bark. And there's different variations of levels, and of course you have to pay for it, but it's the same kind of concept. And it also will block. So if there's certain text message cue words that they use because there's slang lingo that's described, if those come up in a chat, be it text message back and forth or emails or whatever, it will pick that up and send that notification to the parent. So yeah.
Well, let's go on to our next question. And Joel says, yes, there are so many hidden things on social media through ads, which is another one too, right? Yeah. Okay, so our next question is this. How does emotional manipulation like jealousy, control, or isolation show up? Who wants to field that one?
Well, for teens, it's very similar to parents that grew up. Because a lot of stuff, is basically a learned behavior. And so when it's learned, it gives people different opportunities and different ways how they want to handle a girlfriend. I just think that there's a lot of old stuff that's still good. Yeah. I really would never, ever tell a 13-year-old girl to start dating with a 17-year-old boy. It's just some stuff that you just have to monitor. And one thing about it, pay attention like when your child is changing. Mm-hmm. When you see your daughter do little simple things like she used to wear just gloss, but now she wants to buy some lipstick. She wants to change the skirt. Mom, that old skirt is too long. And she want to go shorter. Hairstyle change. The idea that she takes her conversation and go to her room. She's not sitting out in the open no more with the parents. Mm-hmm. Sometimes we need to say, no, you and your phone, stay inside this room and let's talk. And you're going to be able to tell if it's something that's different because you're going to get just a little bit of attitude right behind it. So it's kind of just like thinking as they thought when we was kids. When you know that you was doing something a little different where you didn't want your parents to know, it was like little secrets. Mm-hmm. But the difference in this day and time is domestic violence is very subtle. That goes for adults, it goes for youth. And so when it's subtle, you kind of think, well, okay, the little girl's getting giddy, 13 years old, haven't lived long enough to know anything. So she's giddy. So I got a boyfriend. Okay, what is his name? Who is his parents? Where does he live? And when they start saying to you, how old is he? But they don't want to give you the age. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Your daughter's 13. She's beginning to be a teenager. So in that case, know what you're looking at before you go to them and have that serious conversation. I've noticed that now you're buying lipstick. Why? I've noticed that now that your shirt's a little different. Mm-hmm. Why is the button? It's just keeping your eyes on things that's changing and never being too busy that what you see, you don't believe it. You have to believe it. Yeah. It's a different age and a different time that we're living in.
Control looks in a lot of different ways, and with young people, and like you said, it's the
Yes.
same thing with adults. When we're seeing our young people
Right.
that make these drastic changes and
Right.
don't want to be confronted, don't want to talk about
Yeah.
it, start self-isolating.
Yes.
Those are big red flags.
It's big red flag.
Yeah, and then, I spent time as a case manager with youth who really needed assistance.
Yes.
And manipulation and control, I would see that manifest in, well, I can't set an appointment without checking with my man, or I'm not quite sure if I can do that, or I'll have to get back to you. Just the inability to make a decision on their own might be a sign of some control happening.
Red flag.
Yeah.
And another thing, we have to teach our kids about body language. That means that out of your mouth you are saying words. I'm saying that I care about you. I love you. I don't want to lose you. They are 13 years old. So if you come in contact with somebody that's 4 years older, they know different language. So she's gonna feel bad. They're gonna make her feel bad that she's not doing the things that he wants to do. So finally, the youngest girl is gonna give in to some of that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
It's very subtle. It's very slow. It's not like a tornado or a hurricane coming at you. So know the language, look at their faces, and good conversation.
Reminds me about that term we've all heard many times, is grooming.
Yes.
It's that same kind of behavior,
Same
even though the goal
behavior.
is a little different. It's still.
Well, let me ask you this one. I'm really fascinated to hear what the three of you have to say. How do drugs or alcohol sometimes become tools of control or coercion within unhealthy teen relationships?
Well, most of the teens really get the experience from people who have experience.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you can take this. This all it does is relax you. Or just take this little drink. Your dad has alcohol in the house, so just take your little swallow of it. Just try it. It'll calm you down. It'll help you with that test. So it's a conspiracy to get them started with the little things. Just try one of these pills.
And I think one of the things that creates is something that the young person can't share.
Right.
And it's a secret.
Right.
And you share that with the person that's oppressing you. And the more things that you can't share with the people who care about you, the more isolated you get, the more controlled you get. And it's a vicious cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Plus addiction. I mean, addiction is a whole can of worms that causes all sorts of problems for a person. And trying to hide it and access it and all of those things, more secrets.
That's right.
One of the university studies that I was looking at when we were first talking about doing this topic, and I didn't write down which one, so I'm not quoting them. Substances can lower inhibitions, make someone more vulnerable to coercion or sexual assault. A partner might intentionally encourage someone to get intoxicated, to gain control, or take advantage of them. In some cases, they may even supply the substance to create dependency, addiction, positioning themselves as a gatekeeper to access. There's also the manipulation afterwards. An abusive partner might blame the teen for what happened. You were drunk, you wanted it, or use the incident to shame or silence them. That adds yet another layer of control. Pretty powerful. And that was something that came out of a research study across the country. So this is obviously a big deal.
It is.
It's also a way to harm a person.
That's right.
I think about Rohypnol and the other drugs that you can use, the date rape drugs. And I remember having conversations with almost every young person, and including the boys that I worked with, because the boys can be victimized as well. It's not just our girls.
Yeah.
And so talking about how necessary it is that if you have a beverage, a soda, even if you have to go to the bathroom, you finish it, you throw it away. You wait until you go to the bathroom.
Right.
You don't give it to a friend because that friend will not guard it like they would guard something of their own. And I was working with a young lady who did just that. She was at an event, handed her beverage to her friend and said, I have to go to the bathroom. The friend set it down on the rail, and then something was put into it. And it didn't go very well for that young lady.
Let me add too is, you're thinking, kind of a club scene or something like that. But, these things can happen way younger. And when I was a teenager, some of the things that were pretty insidious, and this was the crack era, right? Everyone is smoking marijuana, right? It's the cool thing to do.
Mhm.
And predators would literally sprinkle crack on top of the marijuana pipe and then pass the pipe around, have you smoke it, get you addicted to crack, and now you're willing to do anything to keep that addiction going, right? So those things still happen today, and there's even ways to now modify the vapes. And so you have to be careful. And just because this person says, hey, I smoke meth and it doesn't do anything to me, it just makes me really awake and alert, and it's okay. And it's like, oh, well, it doesn't really do anything to them. Or they're smoking it and pass it to you and you haven't smoked it. And then you're addicted, right? It's like you never think it's going to be you. And then it's that one time. It only takes that one time to get pregnant. It only takes that one time to get addicted, right? And so it's that one time you think it's just going to be okay this time because of pressure of the group.
Yeah.
And maybe there's other girls there or other boys there. So you feel like you're in this safe space, and now you're addicted. So it can be very dangerous using recreational drugs with each other and even vaping. So be very, very careful.
And I've never heard of a single person, and please, if you've heard, I want to know about it. I've never heard anybody that said, when I grow up, I want to be an addict. I mean,
Right.
let's
Right.
be real. Nobody plans on becoming addicted.
Mhm.
And with some of these substances out that are now, look at fentanyl.
Yeah.
And this is a serious thing. And these are being used as horrible tools, and they have lifelong impacts, and they're not positive.
One of the other things that comes to mind is, that whole protecting your drink piece, but it's also protecting your food.
Right.
You need to know where the food came from. Was it sealed? Did someone make it? Is this laced? Is it an edible? But then also we can be drugged in non-party settings.
Right.
So you could be over at a friend's house studying and you can be doused. You can be at a baseball game. So those rules of protecting what goes into your body apply in every social setting. And sometimes kids think, oh, it's just parties that this could happen. But it happens everywhere, unfortunately.
Well, thank you for that answer. Really wanted to jump into that one. Why is isolation, cutting off from friends, family, or school, such a major red flag across all of these risks?
Okay, isolation. We deal with isolation basically every day, say 40 hours a week. We'll be talking to somebody. But one thing that brings women together is pain. On any level of pain, you can relate. And we hear stories about how each person one man would tell them, you don't need your mama or you don't need your daddy. They just mad. They don't want you to be with me. So it's very subtle. That's another subtle approach. Well, I think that you shouldn't go see your mom at least once a month. It makes the mom think in a month's time, if I haven't heard from my child, that she's abandoned me. So you take it as an abandonment, right? So that means to go on, later he's going to say to you, okay, I don't think your sisters and your brothers, they want to hurt me and they want to harm me. So every time it's basically, it's a list of stuff they want you to do so that they can, one thing about abusers, they do not want to be seen as an abuser.
Mhm.
They want everybody that's kind of like in the neighborhood to think that they are these nice guys who take good care of their wife and the children. And oh, hi, Miss Annie, can I take your bags in the house for you? Because they want to be seen as the good guy, and they want the person to feel beneath them and make them feel crazy. That's why isolation is so important for you not to let a person do.
Yep.
Because you have rights too as an individual, and that person should never put you in an isolated place like living in the woods when you know there's no neighbors to help you out, or all of a sudden you feel like something happened to your car, it's not running the same way. Make sure that you go to the local police and ask them, has my car been anything happening to my car? It seems like it's a knock. Pay attention to isolation, because that's how our children get gone. That's how a lot of adults are missing these days, just from that same word, isolation. They thought it was a safe thing, but it was not.
The whole thing with communication, it's like you talked about before. It's like, well,
Yeah.
if you're isolated away from your peers, your closest friends, the people you know you can trust,
Right,
hoping that they would look after your drink, but you don't ever count on that. But if
right.
you're isolated from your peers and your family,
Right.
who else are you going to go to?
Who
but
will
your
you go
perpetrator?
to? Right,
Who are you going to talk to?
Mhm.
right.
Yeah. And that's a great technique for an abuser
It
to get
is.
their person isolated so that they can't
Right,
talk to somebody who might talk them out of that relationship.
right.
You have another question there, Marwan?
Oh, I have plenty of questions here. All right, the next question. And, again, everyone, thank you for tuning in. Please do like, share, and subscribe. This is a very important conversation. If you are a mentor, you have loved ones that are in their teenage years, have these conversations. There are also programs and workshops through the county, like positive action, where it helps children have those conversations, youth have those conversations, how to say no, how to maintain their friendships and maintain and not succumb to peer pressure. But there's also classes like Guiding Good Choices through the county as well, that are designed to have those conversations with your youth. How do you have that conversation, especially if you happen to vape or drink alcohol, or maybe you do use recreational drugs? So it's not enough to say, do as I say, not as I do. You have to have that real conversation. So again, the county is doing a lot of work in the preventative space, and all of those things go together. We can't say enough. It's too late once they're already gone, and now you're trying to fight to get them back. So if we can stop it before it gets started, then we are definitely winning. Our next question is this: what conversations should parents, educators, and caregivers be having before teens start dating? Kind of teeing that one up there.
So my note, and I say this as a parent of 6 grown children. Now I have 15 grandchildren and a great-grandchild. There should always be clear conversations about consent, what it means, how to give it, how to withdraw it, and that can exist under pressure, fear, or intoxication. Teens need language for boundaries, both emotional and physical. And I think that teaching your young person to find their voice and to use it confidently is critical for safety.
Absolutely. Before I have you answer, I missed a question that came through. This is from Jewel, based on the last question about isolation. She wanted to know, does this happen often to boys as well?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Less resources for boys, unfortunately. I've had, even in my role, I've had 3 in my, how long have I been there for? 11 years. And granted, I'm not the DV person or anything like that. So to the fact that I've received 3 calls for folks that have a boy, a young person that is struggling and they couldn't find resources. So yes, there is a need. It does happen. It may not come to the forefront as often because, boys. Yeah.
And some of that isolation comes through things like, be a man, don't be a punk,
Yep.
you know, be grown. There's a lot of different things that are put upon young boys, where it's like it's an obligation, or you should feel honored, right? You hear stories in the news where teachers have sexually assaulted teenage boys, and I'll hear a lot of adults saying, "Well, if my teacher looked like that, then I should have been lucky." And to think of that, that child has been raped, and they are going to have to carry that throughout their lifetime. And it may also manifest itself in a negative way, where either he could also now become a perpetrator, right? So that is an option, but or that can be a potential outcome. But that's a victim there. And so that's one of those things. Thank you, Jewel, for that question. It is good to have balance there. All right, let me go back into our question again. I'll just restate it. It's still on the screen for everyone else. What conversations should parents, educators, and caregivers be having before a teen starts dating? Well, I can't wait to hear this one. Goodness.
Yeah, so it's burning in me. Just to say that not only do you need to talk about boundaries, but you also need to provide emergency options.
Yes.
So with my daughter, she had her phone when she would go places, and we always had some kind of code word, or in general, like if she wanted to be taken out of that scenario, she'd say, "Hey, Mom, I'm not feeling well. Will you come get me?" No one can argue that. They can't say, "Oh, you're fine." They can say it, but it doesn't mean it's true. And it's an opportunity to get out of that situation.
Yes.
So you have your code word set, you have your check-in set, you have a time and a place, and you need to know where they are. And yes, I will talk to your parents, to their parents, and just keep communication open while they're dating.
I think it's a good idea to consider having that conversation and knowing that there's grace, because I've talked to parents that kind of put their foot down and they say, "Well, if my kid calls me from a party and they've been drinking, I'm gonna," and it's like, well, one, if they call you and they've gotten themselves in that situation, or they've made decisions, whatever, cutting them off because they called you, that doesn't set them up for a positive experience if they are in this position again. But at the same time, if you are open and non-judgmental and just, celebrate the fact that they called you. Okay, don't talk about it right now. Maybe in the morning when they're sober or whatever, if they've decided to partake in something, then have that conversation and help them to find a way to make better decisions the next time. But I think that parents need to be prepared to address that, because if your young person calls you to get out of a bad situation, you don't want to penalize them because they maybe had a beer or something.
Right.
Not that we want to encourage that by any means, but at the same time, the alternative would be they don't want to get in trouble, so they don't call you when the situation is worse.
And that's how a lot of our youth run off the road because they hide, they tipsy, nobody else to drive for them. It would be so much better to pick a child up who is still alive.
Yep.
Yeah.
Than have to approach it the next day with somebody that passed away. You didn't have to. But one thing I would say too is, I think that parents, if you get these kids a copy of the Bill of Rights, the Relationship Bill of Rights.
Oh, go ahead.
I hereby declare that I have the following rights in my intimate relationship. I also recognize and respect that all other people are entitled to the same rights at all times. Number one, to have and express my own feelings and opinion, whether or not others agree. Number two, to make decisions about myself and to have equal decision-making power in relationship. To say no to physical closeness or any other act that makes me uncomfortable at any time. To refuse a date at any time. 5, to choose my own friends and to maintain relationship with those friends. 6, to participate in activities that do not include my boyfriend or girlfriend. Number 7, to control my own money and other possessions. 8, to live free from fear and abuse. And one more thing, what's so impossible is you have a right to choose to say no to that relationship. And that's the kind of stuff that nobody can choose that but you. If you're scared in it, if that person is always with you and you can't be left alone, you have a right to refuse that relationship. But let me add to that. Go talk to your parents. Talk to a police officer if you need to. If you feel that you are scared, that you are nervous, and that this person is dangerous, do the right thing and take care of you and be safe.
Everybody needs a safe person that they can go to, even grown people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and there's so many. I mean, coaches, cafeteria workers,
So many.
your neighbor down the block who's a grandma, who's a good, responsible lady. You know, you can find people that you can share the information with and try to get some help. I think that's really important, is just to keep asking for help and tell the kiddos that it's okay to keep asking. Just if the first person you talk to doesn't really help you, then you still need to keep asking.
Keep going.
Yeah, connect with others.
All right, I like that. If I can ask, Miss Charlene, is there a way I can get a copy of that Bill of Rights and I can make that
have this
available?
copy right here.
Oh, that is awesome. All right, y'all. I'm going to put a copy of this Relationship Bill of Rights in the description so you will have access to it. I tried to do a Google search and a lot of different ones were coming up, but I happen to like yours because it's nice and simple and it's right there. And it looks like number 10 is actually blank. So it's something that you can fill in together. Is that what 10 is about?
No.
Oh, go ahead. Tell me.
That you are the best you.
Oh, I'm the best me.
Don't try to be like nobody else, but be yourself. Be confident in who you are. And with you being confident, other people will see that you're confident.
Now, can I ask, is that why all the people are loving you in the chat? I'm just saying.
I'm just saying that you have to stand on your principles. You have to use your boundaries. And you have to make sure that the person recognizes you as an individual. I'm trying to think of the right word. That they recognize you as an individual and treat you with respect as a personal person, individual.
All right, as a sovereign person. All right, we've been pretty much, doing our comments and asking our questions while we're going. We've got 2 more questions before we end our hour here. Man, this has been a very powerful hour. Again, for me, having a 14-year-old teenage daughter, these things are very relevant. I have not had this conversation about dating yet. Outside of, do I need to come into the Y with my shotgun? And, no, daddy. So, those are the kind of the things we do. But, you said something earlier about paying attention. And so I was taking her to the Y because Friday night has Y for the youth, and that's great. Mm-hmm. And she's going to go play basketball. But I noticed she had eyeliner on and some perfume. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, why do you have eyeliner and perfume on if you're going to play basketball? So that was a conversation that I need to have with mom and grandma and say, hey, 1, are you aware of this? And 2, we might need to go on in there and just see what's happening, for the hour and just see, is basketball happening the whole time or is something else happening in there? And so I just kind of make it, quite plain. So she thinks dad is crazy anyway. So it's like, yeah, well, let me go ahead and pull up. I yell at the friends when she's going in. And it's like, yeah, well, dad just needs to pull out a shotgun and, I'll come on in there. No, daddy, don't do that. So, it's just one of those things. But trying to keep the communication open, like you said. I don't want to scare her off. I want her to know that she can come to me with anything. But at the same time, dad's got some boundaries too. So there's some things that ain't going to be happening. So do understand that. So let's go ahead and get into our next question. But I am not looking forward to that conversation on dating, but I do know that it needs to happen.
Can I say one thing?
Yeah, please.
You as a father?
Yes, you can.
One of the greatest things that your daughter sees is you.
Mm.
So always remember this. A father should make their daughter feel special and loved so much that when somebody is wrong for them, they should be able to discern between the two.
Oh.
To say, that's nothing that you're telling me. My daddy tells me that I'm beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, one thing about it, girls growing up, buy your daughter flowers. Buy her some candy sometime. Say, daughter, hey, come on, let's go to the movies.
Mm-hmm.
And when you get that daughter to trust you at 14 years old, where she just love her daddy and love her daddy, that makes her complete in a lot of areas that she won't have to cover.
So I'll tell you something that I started when she was pretty young, when we would go to the daddy-daughter dance out at fairgrounds every year.
Mm-hmm.
When I would pick her up, she would have a bouquet of roses. And so, she's just this little tiny thing. Like, I love my roses. And she's smiling ear to ear. And yeah, I do want her to know how she should be treated, what that should look like.
That's right.
And so that message received, and I've been doing it. So I did a few things right,
I think you're doing a fantastic job.
Well,
Don't
thank you.
give up, because things are going to get bumpy, because that's part of life, right?
Yeah.
But that's what we need to convey to our young people.
Right.
Is that not every relationship is going to look the same, but if you see this pattern, that's not just dating.
Yeah.
Right.
We've talked to kids that actually think that this behavior is normal because that's what they see.
Right.
Their friends are receiving it. It's, everything in their peer group, they say it's normal, but it's not. And if
Right.
that is being modeled by that relationship she has with you or, any girl with their father figure or a man in their life.
Well, I think we have time for two more questions. And Rebecca says, y'all need to sit up and represent yourselves better. I don't know what that is, but I'm reading everything that comes on. Because I get to use this kind of as my personal advising session. The last question is, what stops teens from asking for help, and how can adults create a safer for disclosure? And if I would kind of preface that, answer the question directly, but then also consider myself as a non-custodial parent. And so being a non-custodial parent where your daughter or your child doesn't live with you, your parenting is different, right? There are things that you can do and you can't do as the custodial parent. So sometimes I walk on eggshells a little bit, and I've got to be careful how I navigate because I don't want to turn my daughter off or against me. I want to keep those lines open. But then I think maybe because I'm just that kind of dad, I'm a little bit more hardcore. So there's that piece too. So, I'm more rigid with boundaries, but I also don't want to be so rigid that I turn her away from me. So just kind of thinking about that. Can you provide some feedback there? What stops teens from asking for help, and how can adults create safer space for disclosure?
Well, I think they're afraid of getting in trouble.
Right.
They're also afraid of getting the perpetrator in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And there has to be a conversation ahead of time, if at all possible, to say, okay, here's where the boundaries are, and here's what we can talk about without getting help. But if you need help, it's my job to find help for you.
Right.
So it's not a matter of getting in trouble. It's a matter of getting the help and support that you need.
And not receiving a lecture. Because
Yeah.
no person, adults or youth, want to, have a problem and just be lectured as to what they're doing wrong.
Mm.
But that goes back to positivity too.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of just like, yes, we're going to make mistakes. And parenting, when you're raising children, there's no guidelines. There's no courageous book out here that can tell you what to do.
If only.
So we do the best we can. But one of the greatest things that we have got to give our children is love.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's going to break a lot of chains from the community where people don't love their children like they should. And then not only that, when our kids' self-esteem is high, they know how to put their shoulders up instead of facing somebody who say, I got this beer. Okay, that's good for you, but not for me.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to always help them to be confident in who they are as a person.
And I think we need to help other people's children.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
So,
it.
a lot of times parents are not around or
Right.
unavailable, and that we are a village, and that we as adults need to do everything that we can to support all young people.
All young people.
So your friends, your child's friends, the kids on the team, the kids that hang out and do homework at nanny's house. We need to support all of those kids and provide that safe space for them to come
Yes.
if they have a problem.
That's right. Or that little kid that's always listed as the bad child.
Right.
There's always something good inside of them.
Oh, yes, there is.
It may not look good or familiar, but most of the time, everybody needs somebody to talk to.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're doing that,
Perspective. I read
Yeah.
something when I toured Alcatraz years ago, and it was a job description for one of the inmates who had transitioned out. And it took all those negative things that got this guy in Alcatraz,
wow,
but they were strengths that he used in a negative way, but he was trained and learned to use them in a good way.
Right.
And it was put together in a
Positive
job
way.
resume. So teaching our kids to be healthy,
yes,
teaching them to recognize what's not healthy.
right, right,
And what I would say to that too is the conversation isn't always verbal. And, I've got 2 daughters and a couple granddaughters, and they are 20 years apart. So with the first one, lots of mistakes, didn't know what was going on. I was 20 years old. But now being in my 50s, it's a very different thing. So that being said, what I didn't want to do, because, I've been that guy who has dated women, and I've been the quote unquote uncle that's coming to visit over to the house. But I'm just the latest in a string of men that are coming in and out of the house, and the children are seeing these men come and go. And I didn't want to be that father, right? I'm a divorcee, right? I'm a non-custodial parent. And the last thing that I wanted my daughter to see is me parading women in and out of the house and just watching that lifestyle, right? I didn't think that was very healthy. I didn't want to teach her that. And so I remember when I first found out, it was years after we had gotten divorced, and mom moved on first and started another family. And, my daughter didn't even know I was dating. And so my lady friend at the time, if she was already at my house, she would leave. Layla would come over and ring the doorbell, and she'd come in. And then I'd have her come and ring the doorbell like she was coming to visit. And so we had no PDA, none of that. So she had no idea that dad had girlfriends, right? And then when I felt like it was okay because her mom was having a family, was like, what do you think about dad getting this person flowers? And, oh, I think that'd be great, daddy. So I made her included in that, and just made sure that it was okay. And if she wasn't ready for that, even though mom was moving on, then I would have just kept it going as it was. Because I felt like that was more important than seeing the part that I played in other children's lives, being one of those many men going in and out of women's lives. Just as a dating thing. So all those things don't have to be verbal. Some of those things you speak with your actions, right? You are role modeling yourself all the time. I tell people you write your resume every day, right?
Yeah.
And your children, more than most, are watching you, right?
Yeah.
And so they're waiting for the hypocrite, right? Well, you did it, so why can't I do it? So your kids are good to call you out when you're not consistent in what it is that you do. So I just wanted to share that.
I have to applaud you for that. When I got remarried, my husband that I'm married to now, he went to my youngest daughter and he asked her if she was okay with it. And he said that he would be willing to wait. But as a man to a woman, it's the same thing like what you did. You not only empowered your daughter, but you also equipped her with a standard of what's appropriate.
Yep.
So good job, Daddy.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right, so we're going to go into our closing question. And our closing question is, if there's one message you want teens and the adults who care about them to walk away with today, what would it be? Whew, that's a big one.
Talk.
I think healthy love should be safe.
Healthy love should be safe. Okay.
Love yourself first.
Oh, love yourself first. Ladies, would you like to elaborate? Maybe 60 seconds for each.
Sure, talk. Talk to your kids, teens, and young people. Talk with the adults in your life. Develop relationships. Look people in the eye. Come off the screens. Develop real relationships. Share what's going on in your life. Ask those open-ended questions so that you get long answers instead of just yes or no.
And I would say for adults to stay open, the goal isn't perfection, it's connection. And for youth, trust your gut. If it doesn't feel right, it probably isn't. But you've got to respect your own gut feeling enough to honor that.
And always recognize that inside your gut is where you will feel nervous and scared is for a reason.
Yeah.
Act on those thoughts that you have inside. Get up immediately and do something about it.
Well, we appreciate you for joining us for today's show or this month's show. Again, give a round of applause to our guest today, Charlene.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
And imparting your wisdom and nuggets for both teens, parents, and adults. That's just so very important. Thank you for that. I want to tell everyone about our next show, which is going to be March. I believe that is March 24th. Am I right on that date? The fourth Thursday? I'm sorry. Let me just pull up my calendar here. So in February and March, it's the exact same day. So it is the 26th. So it is March 26th at 2 p.m. The Ripple Effect Episode 3, National Inhalants and Poisons Week. So this one is, again, going to be a big one. So please, if you haven't, subscribe, like, and share. Make sure that you hit the bell so you get that reminder. I know we're all busy. And again, you are always welcome to come to our studio audience and watch the episode live. Talk to the guests, and of course we feed you. So, you can take advantage of that. Before we go, I just wanted to ask, were there any updates that you wanted to let folks know? Any meetings coming up? Our monthly prevention meeting?
Yes, we have 2 Substance Abuse Prevention Coalition meetings. They are regularly scheduled for the Bremerton area. And keep in mind, these are community driven. So if your schedule says go to Bremerton and you live in North Dakota, it's all good. But the Bremerton one is at 1 to 2:30 on the second Thursday of every month. Those are hybrid, and links can be found on the county website. Find me there. You can connect with me directly. List goes on and on. And then the North Kitsap one, likewise, 1 to 2:30, also hybrid, is the second Monday of each month.
And we have 2 events coming up. We have Hidden in Plain Sight, which will be on March 12th, and that's a virtual event. And it's all about walking through a mock teenager's room and then being educated on signs of abuse and concern. And then we also have the Kitsap Youth Forum coming up on March 19th at Olympic College. And that's an opportunity for young people to ask questions of policymakers and policymakers to ask questions of young people and provide so that the young people can provide input into the decision-making process and government.
All right. And Charlene, do you have any updates with the Y?
We are coming up with the great year.
Okay.
And so right now, I don't know if everyone in our community understands, but we had a fire that did some extreme damage in our shelter.
That's why I brought it up. I wanted you to share.
So if we are asking if you feel in your heart to do something to help us to get this shelter back up running, we would appreciate it so much, because we have served this community so many years, so many wonderful years with so many different women and children. And now it's your time, if you can help us to restore a beautiful home that we have so that they can get back in there. So thank you so much. You're welcome to call our office at the 360 and then 479-0522. If you would like to do a donation, it will be appreciated.
All right. We will put that
Thank you.
in the chat as well. It takes all of us, it takes a whole community. I'm going to let that be the final word. So, as always, this is Marwan Cameron. This is The Conduit. Take care of yourself and take care of